typical user that comes to me was into music in the 70s, 60s, 70s, fancied learning to play the guitar, bought one, had a go, realised first of all that they've got these horrible strings on, and that when you press your fingers against them it actually hurts. Now no one tells you that, it's not in any of the books, so it's always a great big shock when you get the guitar, because when you see a guitar being played it doesn't look too difficult, does it? But when you get one, you press your fingers and you get this agony in the ends of your fingers. So usually what happens is they put the guitar down and have a little rethink, you see. So they may persist for a while, but what happens is, like lots of things in life, life takes over. So the guitar sits in the corner for a while and they'll learn one or two tunes maybe. But generally they don't make anything like the progress they expected. And then this whole life thing takes over because they get married and they then have to have a job, and then they have children, then they have to provide, and the guitar is just this fanciful idea that they had. The years go by, the children grow up, they leave home, as you well know, and you have more time, and lo and behold, you've even got some spare money, so you can buy a better guitar than you could do the first time around. So what they do is they buy another guitar, or they dig out the old one that's in the cupboard, covered in dust, and have another go, really. And one of the places they can look now that they couldn't look, of course, all those years ago, is the internet, because it's full of guitar learning stuff, jammed full. And that's one of the reasons that I started the business, because I didn't really like what I saw on there. So here we are, we're looking around and thinking, how can I do it? You know, how can I shortcut the process? Because my typical customer doesn't want to get involved in learning to read music. They don't want to learn the theory of music. What they want to do generally is they want to get the maximum results in terms of the numbers of songs that they can play for the least amount of effort.
So there's none of the theory in the background?
No, and there are two great reasons for that. One is that I don't believe that people want it, and the second one is I don't really know that much about it myself
you can
anyway.
Just do it.
Because I was one of the ones who did persevere when I started, but my story is similar to most of my customers' stories, you know. I put the guitar away and did the grown-up
What
thing,
was the moment when you thought you could teach, you had something to teach and give?
I think it was really seeing what other people were doing. I'd been involved in business, I'd been a trainer, and I'd been teaching people, not the guitar. And when it was in business, it was management and sales. And I was quite good at that. In fact, I was doing quite well at it when I decided to do this instead. But what I was good at the time was seeing the bits where people found the most difficulty and showed them how to overcome the really difficult bits in business. Because to me, if it sounds okay, that's good enough. So I'm not concerned whether I get the exact chord shape, whether I'm hitting exactly the right notes as in the original piece. I'm quite happy to shortcut. And I'll leave notes out, or I'll change. We have a thing with the guitar called the bar chord. This great big thing here, and it doesn't look like much. You put your hand across the guitar. This finger here presses all of the strings down, and most people will spend years learning how to do that. That can take 2 to 3 years to learn how to do that. So it's no good me trying to teach a beginner how to do that.
But you mustn't undersell yourself here. I mean, I've heard you play the guitar many times, and you're very, very good indeed about it. And to my untrained ear, it sounds utterly professional and utterly accomplished.
It is in its way, in its own way. It's accomplished as a shadow version of the original. Because honestly, the pieces I play most of the time, I'll be missing the odd bit out, and you just didn't notice it.
Well, that's all right. I mean, if somebody picks up a guitar at the party, you're not going to have a music critic in the corner saying, "Oh, he missed out," which is on that. I mean,
I've got nothing against someone who wants to study the guitar on a professional level and go and learn all the theory and the music and every scale. People email me and say, "What scale did you use to develop that piece?" I have no idea. I haven't got a clue. I really have no idea. I just play it that way because it sounds...
You can do it and teach her.
It sounds okay.
How to do it.
And even if it's the wrong scale, it sounds okay. The number of kids that must have been put off learning music because someone's so pedantic. If I go to a party, they don't say, "Can you show me an A minor diminished pentatonic scale, please?" Because if they did, one, I wouldn't know how to do it, and two, it would sound awful anyway. But they might want to say, "Can you bang out a few tunes that we can sing along to?" And that's what my customers want. I believe that's what my customers
Because all the great blues guitarists never had all that stuff.
All self-taught,
learnt it.
often blind, and just did it by perseverance, you know, and they will have been shown. You see, I have this theory that's a bit different to everyone else. I believe that this guitar is a folk instrument, regardless of what type of guitar it is. And the way you learn a folk instrument is by being shown by folk how to do it, basically. And in the old days, before the internet, we would sit around a campfire and someone would play something and someone else would say, can you show me how to do that? That's what I tried to do.
The most basic form of teaching is by demonstration.
And of course we're so lucky now, because when I learned, you couldn't just get video, you couldn't just go online. Online didn't exist. So you couldn't just watch someone learning a piece. And you know, I used to pay to go to concerts and sit at the front and watch intently what was going on and then try and memorize it and go home so that I could learn pieces. And of course these days they just hit the rewind button and they can watch the video over and over again. And so what I've done is I remove all the difficult bits, I take out the bar chords, and if there's any big stretches I'll try and get around them. One of the things that I do for absolute raw beginners, I'll teach them chords that are just one finger, literally just one finger. And actually I reckon that within 5 minutes, 10 minutes probably, I can have a complete raw beginner, as long as the guitar's in tune, able to play something that people would listen to.
What would that be?
Well, I just use a single finger down there on what's a G chord. It doesn't matter the technicalities. Just use these 4 strings, and I teach them to just pick them in pairs. This pair here, followed by this pair here, followed by this pair here, followed by that one, and so.
So it's like a number sequence.
It's just a numbered sequence, and it's just on those 4 strings, and I'm just holding down one string. And if that finger gets sore, just move to the other finger. And as it speeds up, it sounds fine. And then we move to another chord. And I can teach anyone this in 5 minutes flat.
Because you think about the guitar, he's learning the guitar, and you think it's years, don't you? Well, I do anyway.
If you can give someone a quick entry and produce, this is the thing, you see. A lot of people make the fatal mistake of saying, I'm learning to play the guitar. And of course, the audience's first question is, great, what can you play? And of course, that's where it all falls apart, because they say, well, actually, I'm just learning to hold this chord down here, and it sounds like that.
They say, is that all you can do?
And so what can you actually play? Well, that's it. Whereas if they can say, well, actually, I've just learned this, you know, I learned this last
night. It sounds very musical and very mellow, and that's great.
And it's very simple. Well, there's no point in complicating it. It doesn't have. Some people won't progress much beyond those 4 chords. They'll learn the full versions of them. And they'll make music. And I'll teach that in 2 or 3 different keys. Because once I've drawn them in and able to pick up a guitar and someone say, what can you play? And they play something and the person says, oh, that sounds really nice. They're there, aren't they? They're over that hurdle, that learning curve.
That's right, it also occurs to me that you could save some people a great deal of money, because I know somebody who hasn't taken any guitar lessons anywhere, but keeps thinking if he buys a more expensive guitar somehow it'll play.
And it's true, of course, and there are people that just like guitars, and I'm one of them. I like to collect guitars as well, but I'm still a believer that, you know, if you can make some reasonable music out of it, that's better.
Okay, so you teach on the internet through a website.
Just through the internet.
I've seen your website. I mean, it's quite extensive, and I haven't read all of it, of course, but time to time, through interest, I've looked at it. And it's set up in a particular way.
It is, yeah.
What's the thinking behind that?
What I really wanted was just a jukebox, so someone would come along and just look at a list and think, oh, I remember that from 1974, that was one of my favourite songs. I'd love to learn how to play it. Click, and they see a little snippet video of me playing the piece, a little buy now button on there. They hit that, and then they can download the video, 2-handed shot. As you know now, I've developed it so that most of the